Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of ZB's Horsepower Talk. As always, I'm ZB, Zack Brown. We got another conversation ahead of us. We have Glen Clarke joining us here. He's got about 4 decades of racing experience under his belt, between racer and crew chief early on in sprint car racing. So, Glen, welcome to the show and everything. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Glen, let's kind of take it off from the beginning. Was racing always something on your radar growing up, or it kind of happened a little later on in life? And
Yeah,
what first kind of started with you?
as a kid, I was good. We went to Reading a lot. My parents would always take us to Reading and to Grandview once in a while, but went to Reading probably, I don't know, 8, 10 times a year as a kid. And I always said I wanted to be a race car driver. And that's sort of what got me into it.
Did you have any idea what kind of racing you were wanting to do, or just kind of anything that had 4 wheels and you want to go with it?
No, did that as a kid with my parents, and then went to Grandview here and there, growing up. And I actually met Glenn Fitzgerald at a roller skating rink when I was 15 or just turned 16. And me and him hit it off pretty good. And I was friends with his kids, and me and him hit it off pretty good. And I turned 16, and he called me like the next day after I got my license, and he said, "Hey, come on up." And he was still running Cecily's Modified then at Flemington.
Okay.
And so that sort of was how I got into racing by that.
Well, he just called you up and you just were just to start working on the car?
Yeah, he needed a hand change the motor or something. And to me, I went up there. I knew nothing about anything. Well, I was mechanically inclined, but
yeah,
we hit it off. And I'll tell you, from I think that day that I went up there, I pretty much was at his house every day and all weekends. And then I'm going to say that summer or winter was when Darson Roland Squid bought a sprint car, and they were fans that he got to know pretty good at Flemington, and he started driving for them. And I was involved in the start of that, helping them build everything. We built a trailer. We actually were, Binky Letter Shop was right around the corner. We went over and measured his trailer, come back and build something, go back, measure more. We basically copied his trailer to get started. And
I got you. Well, how long were you just working on cars and everything before you decided, hey, let me get behind the wheel and try this out myself?
I want to say right around 78, 79 was when he started running URC sprint cars. And I worked for him as his crew chief basically until 86 when I started. 85, I bought a car. And
was that a URC?
Yes. Yeah, I started out in URC, and that's the fastest thing I drove before that was a lawn tractor cutting grass,
For those that don't know, what exactly is a URC compared to, like, I guess the other sprint cars that everybody typically sees?
URC started out when I ran, they had a 15 square foot wing instead of a 25 square foot wing. Okay. Side panels were, I think, 12 inches at that time. No front wing, 14-inch right rear wheel. And then they got into the big wing, front wing, but it was a 358 motor. All and right. Then with fuel injection, and then we went to 360s.
All right.
When the ASCS stuff came out, and it just sort of balanced everything out. And so that's URC.
Where all did you race? I think I found something. You raced at, is it Cayuga County Fairway?
Yeah. So that's Weedsport. We raced, man, we were in Canada, Tennessee, Flemington, Bridgeport, Delaware.
So you're just going everywhere.
We ran the East Coast basically with United Racing Club. Yeah.
Okay.
We ran basically 43. I think my rookie year we ran 43 races, and I ran every race.
Were you running? I guess you were running for a championship for that then too. Is it just like a whole?
Yeah. I mean, I was rookie of the year, running for rookie of the year that year, and I got made rookie of the year. It was I'll never forget the first time I ever sat in a car and got pushed off, and Glenn Fitzgerald and Dave Kelly passed me and about spun my helmet around, and I was like, "This is gonna be good," you know.
It's a little wake up call.
Yeah, my first race I ended up 11th. I remember that down in Delaware was my first race.
Well, out of how many cars?
24 started, but there's probably back then they were getting 35 cars, 40 cars to an event. I mean, they used to get a lot of cars.
That's not too shabby. So,
Yeah. But
back then,
the key was that, you know, I had all the experience with Glen Fitzgerald as far as setting the car up, maintaining the car, knowing what the car did, knowing how it worked and all that. And he basically told me when I started driving, he goes, "You know everything about the cars." He said, "I just can't drive it for you," you know. And then, and I did. I knew a lot of maintenance, a lot of, you know, the basic setup stuff. So that's what anybody getting into racing should do, is work for somebody first and then learn the car, learn everything about the car and how it works, and, you know, all that stuff.
yeah, you don't see that a whole lot anymore. There's just kids they'll get brought up, and you'll see it now with the modern sim racing. I've had interviews with sim racers. They can jump in a car if they have the right setup now, and it's they don't know anything about the car, but they know how the car is supposed to drive. And they always have somebody outside to help them out and everything with that.
Right. Well, the funny story is the first race was at Delaware on a Saturday night. The next race we went to Grandview. The second race, Fitzgerald went out in his heat race and flipped, and I went out in my heat race and flipped. And he came over and he said, "Look, you got to learn where to draw the line. I told you to do everything I do, but don't, you know where to draw the line." And I'll always remember that from him. You know. So
how many years did you do URC before you started transitioning to other different series?
I ran URC. I'm going to say it was 86 was rookie of the year, and then probably like early 90s, something like that. Maybe 91, 92 is when I got a 410.
Yeah, I found a video. It says you won in 1992 at Weed Sport and the URC.
Yeah. So I drove for a guy in URC, Lou Eckridge, a lot. I know I won a 410 race at Seals Grove on a Saturday night. URC was at Weedsport the next day. We went home, switched cars, went to Weedsport, and I finished second that day. Started 18th. I don't know why, but Weedsport, Cuyahoga County, I just love that place.
Where is that?
It's Weedsport, New York. It's right next to Syracuse, basically.
Okay.
Up in it used to be called Weedsport, and then it changed the name to Cuyahoga County.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen stuff about it before. Never really knew a whole lot. What type? Is it a smaller track? Is it a bigger track?
Well, it used to be a small little oval, and then they made it into a big D shape, and it didn't matter. Like,
okay.
I won both of them, but I would have to say it's not really my favorite track. Like,
but you fare pretty well there. I mean,
I did go good there. I like that place, but
commercials suck, don't they? But this one's worth it. I'm here to talk about Lickety Lou's Booyah sauce. 3 different flavors: original, yellow, and spicy. Go check them out at licketyloos.com. Check out some of their apparel, just like this shirt I'm wearing right here. Again, that's licketyloos.com. Go check them out. If you're not anywhere near one of their stores that they sell it, order online. They'll ship it to you. It'd be pretty awesome. Back to the show. Did you eventually just do 410s full time then? After you kind of phased out of
410, Williams Grove Friday night, Seals Grove Saturday night, and then we just decided one year to make a change and go to Lincoln. And I don't remember, but I think I got upside down first 4 weeks in a row and said we're going back to Seals Grove. It was just one of those freak things.
That would make me want to just go back to what you knew.
And I bought the reason I went to Lincoln was I bought a big trailer from Jasper Petit, who owned cars on the Outlaw Circuit. His shop was out that way. And he had the ladder that he forgot to bring. So I said, well, we'll go stop by your shop, pick up the ladder, and we'll just run Lincoln. And that's how I started running Lincoln, and it didn't go real well.
Yeah.
And ironically, last URC race, I went back to URC after 410 the last few years, and that was where my last race was at.
Where with the 410s, did you race against Outlaws, All Stars that came through town and everything?
Yeah,
or
I
just
went to
raced
Florida.
The non-sanctioned?
Your dad helped me out a couple years down in Florida. We went down there, and I don't remember, 4 or 5 years, something like that. We went to Florida and did East Bay. That was when the All Stars sanctioned it.
Okay.
And then we come home and run the Hagerstown Early Bird Icebreaker deal, and start the day races at Williams Grove.
Were you did you race weekly at Williams Grove for I guess championship points and everything like that?
Yeah, we did, and then broke my, I forget what year it was. I broke my shoulder, my scapula, shoulder blade, whatever, at Sealands Grove in a crash there, and missed a couple weeks. But you miss a week, back then you were behind.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
And even these days, I mean, it's the same thing. If you get behind if you miss any type of race. What was the biggest thing you felt and kind of were experiencing when you shifted from the URCs into the 410 sprint cars?
Power, just the horsepower is unbelievable. I mean, now they probably have 200 more horsepower than when I raced.
Well, when you had a couple engines from the Browns, I think that was pretty decent too to have that under there back then.
I had a body shop back at the beginning, and the Chevy dealer I bought my Chevy parts from gave me the Chevy Performance blocks and the Chevy Performance heads, and I just gave them to your dad and said, or your grandfather, sorry, and said, build me a motor. And he built a couple. He I would say he did a URC motor or two for me too, I think.
Not surprising. They kept busy back then. They had a little bit of everything up back then.
That's been years, I'm getting old. But I remember I connected with your dad through that, and he worked for me. I don't remember if it was 2 years, 3 years, what it was, but he worked for me a few years. And I want to say your grandfather was sort of in limbo a little bit. I think that may have been the years when Donnie went NASCAR. He went ARCA racing one year, and he just came along with your dad. I mean, that was awesome. He'd bring a shop, he'd bring this. If that man leaned against your car, it just went faster.
Yeah.
So it was just nice having him around.
So going into so you did say you did race a little bit against the Outlaws and stuff?
When they came around, we raced. We ran the All Stars and Outlaws with them.
What was the biggest thing you saw when you were racing against them? I mean, they do this full time, and most people in Pennsylvania, they don't do this full time. They have their own jobs on the side.
Right.
So I mean, when
just
you went
qualifying was the goal when they were in town.
Yeah,
because I mean, back then, they brought 18 guys with them. You know what I mean? Now they have, I don't know, 12 travel or something like that.
Yeah, that's a little bit. Yeah, I think maybe 15 now.
Something like that. But back then they had a bigger following that traveled with them. There's a lot more money out there then than is now, I guess.
Yeah, and obviously they finally were able to get a race in up there this weekend at Lincoln. So are you still kind of keeping up, watching the racing up there?
Yeah. My son actually, all of a sudden, I guess you'd say, he didn't put his baseball glove down, but he got into racing, pretty interested in it, and he's helping Austin Bishop.
Okay.
So I've been following him, and he raced there, and he missed qualifying. I guess he finished 5th in his heat and 6th and 5th in the B main. So he missed it by one both times, but they were happy with the performance and all. That was in his own car, so he's got to ride in a 35 car for Grove and Port, and then his own car for all the other shows.
Awesome.
So he's helping him out.
Yeah. So just kind of going back when you during your racing career, what did you was that 410 yours or was that for
Fort that was mine.
it
Yeah,
was all yours and everything?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Um so what how I guess kind of having your own car and having your own team and everything, how was it difficult to kind of like get everything organized for a race that week, or was it kind of you're like, yeah, I'm my
We
own boss, so it's actually a blessing in disguise?
so I had my own company, so you could be pretty flexible.
Yeah.
My brother was my crew chief all those years, and he was pretty organized. And we had a lot of spares over the winter. We built a lot of spare stuff. We always had two complete cars ready to go and a spare car ready to go, and then all the spares in the trailers. I mean, we made sets of radius rods and arms and bars and all that stuff all winter long, and had all kinds of spare stuff. So we were pretty prepared.
So what year did you say you got out of racing, and what kind of led to that decision to kind of stop racing?
So I guess it was 2004. Actually, 2003. My son was getting off the bus stop at my mother-in-law's at the time, and their neighbor was good friends of mine. He said, "You got to get Cody into baseball. You got to get Cody into baseball." And I says, "What? Like, what? We're racing. Like, we're racing." So I guess in '03, fall of '03, we got in the Sunday afternoon at the local little league, whatever, and so he was pretty good. And then the next year he played, and then guy calls and says, "Hey, we want Cody to be on the travel team." And I'm like, the what? And he says, "The travel team." I'm like, man, I don't know, but I didn't want to take that away from him. So the season started. I'm racing. Cody's playing. I'm busy going back and forth to games and race and blah blah blah. And the first time it happened, I was at Lincoln racing. Cody's at a baseball game, and I was running second. The caution came out. I wonder how Cody's making out. I'm running around, and instead of thinking how I'm going to get around, I forget who was leading or whatever. And green came out. And I went back to fourth. I came out, and my brother said, "Man, you got caught sleeping on that restart." I said, "No," I said, "I wasn't sleeping at all. I was thinking about how Cody was making out his baseball game." And I didn't want to be that dad that was never, his kid's stuff. I mean, I think you understand that with your athletic background that I sort of followed over the years. And
Definitely.
never raced again. That was it.
Well, I mean, I'm
Um,
kind of getting into the same thing now with my son. He just started Little League now, so
yeah,
kind of starting to get to experience that. I mean, I know
it's
how it
a,
is. Yeah,
it
I get
paid
it.
off.
I get it.
Um, I coached my other son. He's playing professional for the Lancaster Barnstormers, and they didn't cost me a lot of money to go through college, either one of them. And Cody went to Texas A&M down in Texas, and Brett went to Stony Brook. They both played, 4 years of college baseball, and like I say, Brett's playing for the Lancaster Barnstormers now. Cody plays adult league local, and I don't know how that's going to interfere with the racing deal, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
They didn't want to get into. They didn't want to drive race cars or
You
anything.
know what? If they asked me, I mean, Phoenixville quarter midgets are not far from me, and Oak Lane's not far from me. And at that age, some of the like Bruce Thompson, I raced with him in URC. His kids were racing quarter midgets, and my guys never said, "Hey, I want to race." If they did, I would have said, "All right, your baseball gloves going on the shelf, and we're racing." Like,
Focus on
you're
this.
not gonna. I was always 100%. You don't do it, part time or here and there. You do it. If you're gonna do it, you do it.
Yeah.
And they never did that. And a couple years ago, Cody, I'm going up to the Grove Zone. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Hey, I'm going to Port. Hey, I'm going here. I'm going there. I was, oh, that's cool. And now his girlfriend, he's got all kinds of. He loves it. I mean, he just loves it. So he's involved in hunting and racing and baseball. So I don't know. One of them's got to have to go soon, I think. But
well, it's something if you're away for a while from. I mean, kind of with me. I mean, I moved down to North Carolina when I was 12, and obviously that's the biggest thing I miss from up there. So recently, just trying to, especially since like Lance has been driving my grandpa's car and everything.
Right.
That's really when I started getting back into um, really watching the racing and everything. I've always watched like the NASCAR and all that. And I've kept up with the dirt racing, but now with how easy things are with social media and all streaming platforms, it's easy to keep up with the stuff. So it's definitely definitely a sport where if you go away from, it's like I missed this, and it's
Right. I miss
it
it
makes you feel like home.
dearly. I miss it dearly. I love, man. I met so many great people, great friends that I'm still good friends with. Um, my whole family did it. My parents did it. My brother, sister. I mean, they went to every race. My cousins. We were a big family that followed racing, and I got hurt. My parents still went to the races and watched. I couldn't go watch it. I just can't. I have problems still going and watching.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know this tells me I could do it, but my body tells me I can't. So.
We can never say you're too old. I mean, my grandpa's going to be
Well,
89 this year, and he's still working on the car. So
Yeah.
you can't give age an excuse for that if
Yeah.
he's still cranking the wrenches and stuff.
Yeah.
And that was a big reason that I started this whole show, is to really have something with him that will live on forever.
Yeah.
Because nobody gets to see that side of him ever. I mean, he doesn't like doing interviews and stuff. He just doesn't.
Right.
And then just kind of I get to see a perspective from all different types of individuals in the racing community. So it's a lot of fun to do, from whether it's asphalt up to dirt racing. Actually, that kind of good transition to what I was going to get into next. Let me talk to you about my friends over at W Energy. You ever want to take a shot of some sort of caffeine beverage throughout the day to get through the day, but you don't want to end up feeling tired and feel the jitters after it? Well, go check out W Energy. They got a wide variety of products to get you through the day with no crash, no jitters, and everything is all natural extraction from coffee plants. Go to www.ggdubby.gg. Use the promo code ZBHP to get your 10% off of any order. Again, w.ggdubby.gg. Promo code ZBHP. Get 10% off your order. Was that with asphalt racing? Was that ever an option for you that you wanted to do, or you just dirt was the only thing you were looking at?
There was a point when the NASCAR Sportsman was was under the ARCA.
Mm-hmm.
They raced. I think Donnie might have did that. I don't remember, but anyway, I toyed with that idea, and I was in a bad accident and was out for a while. I had a lot of surgeries, and when I got healed, I told my wife to book a trip to somewhere. She went to Disney, so we went to Disney World for 2 weeks. My parents went, and I had gotten my dad a ride along at Disney Motor Speedway in the Richard Petty deal. Mm-hmm. So I went there with him, and I ended up driving while I was there. The people there knew who I was. They're from a lot of those NASCAR guys are from Central PA.
Yeah.
So the guys knew who I was. I don't remember who they were or whatever, but they said, "Come on, drive." So I drove, and I was bored. I was like, thank God I didn't spend a dime to buy anything, but I like sprint car racing.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't, I drove a modified one time at Grandview, and it was just so slow reacting and everything, where I said, it ain't for me. And Grandview's, literally 10 miles from my house. And everybody's like, why don't you race there? Why don't you race there? It's not my cup of tea.
Yeah, that's something you see with the somebody that's going from dirt racing to asphalt. You hear it a lot. They're like, "This is boring. I'm bored.
Yeah,
like we're not. I just have to do this and kind of fight it every now and then." No, every lap in dirt racing, I mean, you're fighting that thing, and you actually have to drive them.
Yeah.
And I've talked about them plenty of times on this program and everything, but it's still a great example is like Kyle Larson. And he actually, in this last Atlanta race with this type of racing they do at Atlanta, and he's like, this is boring. Like I'm bored. And you can tell he was bored because he's trying to dice it up and do something with it. Everybody just wants to ride it. And you can tell which ones are like in my opinion, the true racers and everything. Right. The ones that just kind of just stayed on asphalt and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing about dirt racing that I think a lot of people don't realize is how hard it is to race these cars and how much talent you actually have to drive these things.
Yeah, I mean the chassis is a big thing. I mean when they're set up right and you're hooked up right, it's like a Sunday afternoon drive out there.
Yeah.
And when they're not, you have your hands full.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of drivers that make it look easy up there, and like Lance, he makes it look easy.
Yeah.
And back when I was watching it growing up, Fred Raymer, he made it look easy. I'm guessing you raced against Fred, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure that was a pretty interesting experience racing against him.
Yeah. I mean, like Billy Pouch would come invade URC when we're at Flemington or Bridgeport, and he'd always, go to the front, and he just made it look easy.
Yeah, and so was there a track that you liked the best? I know you said you had success at Weed Sport, but you didn't really care for. Is there one that was it Grandview was your favorite since you're there? Or?
No,
what
that place not one of my happy lists. We went okay there, but I would have to say, like, I like the high speed, like Selinsgrove, Bridgeport, Delaware, and Georgetown. They were fun to race on. And then the track up in Canada, Granby, that was a high speed, fast, flat out track. So I sort of like those. Not a big bull ring kind of guy, although Weedsport is a small bull ring type place, but
yeah.
I like the big super speed, the fasts,
Is it just for the racing, or is it just for the actual just thrill of it as because you got the higher speeds?
No, I don't know. I mean, I liked Selinsgrove was fun. Sort of narrow a little bit, and coming out of 2 is narrow, but it's I don't know. It's just the tracks that I went good at, and I just like that. I mean, look forward to them. So.
Yeah. Is there a competitor you enjoyed going racing against during your career, or even watching
URC
now?
most? I mean, Glenn Fitzgerald's. You always like run with him, and he's always clean. You had your few, but pretty much didn't mind running with anybody, really. I mean, I didn't have problems.
Well, with Cody getting into working on cars and stuff, you think he's going to have any desire like you did after you started working on a car to drive it? And I guess if that happens, are you going to help him out with that and get him into a car?
It'd be hard not to help him. But I definitely enjoy my time on my boat in the weekends.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that at all. Glenn, listen, I appreciate you hopping on with me. Again, it's always cool to see just different perspectives from all types of race car drivers, whether they're from dirt up to asphalt. I've got people lined up now. Somehow they want to come on this show already, so it's pretty cool, and I appreciate it. I've got asphalt guys all the way into dirt racing, and it's just and that's what the big thing is. I'm trying to get people that like dirt racing to start getting into asphalt and vice versa,
right.
And just like racing as a whole. I mean, that's what I've always liked. Obviously, I'm still going to be biased and like dirt racing more, but people. Like there's people in my family that are like, I don't care about NASCAR and stuff. I'm like, well, now I'm trying to talk about it and try to make everything interesting. And again, NASCAR fans don't know anything about dirt racing, so something I'm trying to bridge the gap with. So again, I appreciate you hopping on, and see who all these other guests will come on. If you want to spread the word, anybody that you've known that you've raced against, feel free to
let them. We'll do that.
Yeah, feel free to let them know and come on. But
appreciate your time and what you're doing for all the history of your grandfather.
Again, that was the biggest thing why I started this. So and that's already taken off very well. That conversation I had with him, and I like to call these more conversations, not really interviews. I just like to talk and just BS with somebody on something that, I mean, you can have the same old lame ones you see on TV and stuff, but I'm trying to bring a different unique thing to all the stuff. So, well, everybody, that'll conclude this show. Appreciate you coming on, Glenn. Everybody, Glen Clarke.